right. Well, shalom, everyone. It's really good to see you all. We're going to continue with our series on sacred cycles, but before we do, I did want to just start with a little nigun to sort of help to center us and to ground us in this moment. So, as has been my practice recently, I'll just sing a couple bars, and I encourage you to close your eyes and take some deep breaths and just to sort of ground into this moment together as we prepare for our learning together. And this is a little nigun that's called the Taproot Nigun, and it was written by a friend of Ruth and mine named Adam Horowitz, and it's a really beautiful one. So it goes like this. I had a might I do da do it I had a might I do da do it I had a might I do da do it I had a might I do it might So, as I mentioned, we are continuing our occasional series on sacred cycles, the Kabbalah of time, nature, and self. And I have mentioned to some of you that I think one of the great spiritual technologies of the Semitic tradition is the calendar. And it is a calendar that's mostly built around the agricultural cycles of the Levant. And as a result, a lot of the observances and the holidays and the festivals that we hold today seem a little disconnected from their origins. Most of us don't live in the land of Israel. Most of us don't live an agrarian lifestyle. And so these sorts of holidays and festivals, I think, often seem a little disconnected from their origins. But if we consider the origins of all of these holidays and these festivals, I think we see an invitation to connect with the rhythms of creation. We see an invitation to see ourselves as part of this living, breathing organism that is the creation. And it invites us to understand and observe the cadence and the rhythm, the cycles of creation, and the way that we sort of connect and ground into that ourselves. We find ourselves in a moment where I'm looking outside and I am seeing brilliant leaves of red and yellow and orange, just beautiful hues all around, and also many trees that are already losing their leaves. Many trees that have just gone completely dormant and barren for the winter months. And so I recognize that we are in this moment of transition from the fall to the winter. As much as I don't want to admit that, the winter is knocking on the door, and we are rapidly approaching the season of darkness and coldness, a time where we spend more time inside than outside. And we, in a couple days, will be entering the month of Cheshvan on Thursday. Rosh Chodesh Cheshvan is Wednesday night. And so Cheshvan is sometimes also known as Mar Cheshvan in Hebrew. And Mar in Hebrew means bitter. And so it's almost an idea that we are entering a period of time that might be considered a little bitter. It's a period of time, as I said, that it's colder, it's darker, there's less that's happening. We find ourselves indoors more. And it's a period of time that could be considered quite bitter. But the idea that it's Mar Cheshvan also has its roots in the fact that Cheshvan is a holiday that a month that has no holidays in it. And that is especially apparent after we come from the month of Tishrei that we are concluding now, which has a gazillion holidays, right? We started with Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah, the first of Tishrei. And then 10 days after that, we had Yom Kippur. 5 days after that, we had Sukkot. 8 days after that was Shemini Atzeret and then Simchat Torah. And so we have this parade of holidays that is happening throughout the month of Tishrei. And then there's almost like a hard stop. And then Cheshvan has nothing. It's a really interesting dichotomy of having all of these things happening in the month of Tishrei and then having nothing happening in the month of Cheshvan. And I think many of us could probably relate to all the activity and the energy that's connected with the month of Tishrei and even the month of Elul that precedes that. It's a time where in the Hasidic tradition they teach that the king is in the field during the month of Elul. The idea being that the divine presence blankets the earth in preparation for Rosh Hashanah, the day of renewal, the day of the rebirth of creation. And it's this beautiful image that points to the divine immanence, the idea that the divine presence is not somewhere far off in a distant galaxy, but exists all around us and really is here present with us. And I love this idea also of the king being in the fields because I think of it in terms of very human terms. The idea that if you had a visiting dignitary, a head of state coming to town, you could just imagine all of the chaos that would come into that. You know, all of the road closures and all of the diversions, all of the bodyguards and attendants and the aides that are, accompanying the whole entourage accompanying this head of state. And I sense that during the months of Elul and Tishrei, where it's as if the divine presence is here and all of those surrounding energies that are connected to the divine presence, the whirling chaos is also here. And so this period of time is a period of great energy, a period of I think, a frenetic energy in many ways, this sort of chaotic energy. And then, of course, all of the energy that goes into observing all of these festivals, whether that means going to synagogue or just spending time with loved ones and having meals. There's a lot of energy that goes into this month, the month of Tishrei, and observing all these high holy days. And so then we come to Cheshvan, where there's nothing. And that is a very stark differentiation between these 2 months. But this whole parade of holidays, as I mentioned, ends really with this holiday of Shemini Atzeret. So when we read in the Torah, we are told that the Israelites are to observe the festival of Sukkot for 7 days. And then on the 8th day, Shemini, Shmona, the 8th day, that the Israelites are to have an Atzeret. The Atzeret is a word that's often translated as sort of holy convocation, but probably could be better translated as a concluding festival. It comes from the word etzer, ayin tzadiresh, atzor meaning to stop. And so the idea is that it's like the concluding festival. This word shows up in a few other places in the Torah or in the Tanakh. We see it in the holiday of Passover, Pesach. The Israelites are again commanded to observe Pesach for 7 days and then to have an Atzeret, a concluding festival. When Solomon is dedicating the temple, it says that he held a 7-day long dedication festival, 7 days of dedication. And then on the 8th day, he held an Atzeret, a concluding festival. And so we get the sense that Atzeret is this idea that it's a concluding festival. And there seems to be some sort of mystery here with the idea of 7 days concluding with an Atzeret. But that pattern of 7 plus Atzeret can actually be abstracted out to weeks as well. I mentioned before Passover, and on the second day of Passover, we begin counting the Omer. And for 7 weeks of 7 days, we count the Omer. And then at the end of that 7-week period, we celebrate Shavuot. And in later rabbinic writings, Shavuot is actually just called Atzeret, as if to say that Shavuot is the concluding festival for that whole period of time, starting with Passover, counting the Omer, and then concluding on Shavuot. It's the concluding festival for that whole unit of time. And so then we could actually probably further abstract this idea of 7 days, 7 weeks to 7 months. And all of these holidays that I just mentioned, Passover, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, they all happen within a 7-month period, beginning with the month of Nisan, which is the month that we celebrate Passover in. Then, as I said, 7 weeks later, we celebrate Shavuot. And then in the 7th month, we observe Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot and all of the high holy days. And so we see that there's a 7-month period that then concludes with Atzeret, with Shemini Atzeret. It's almost as if Shemini Atzeret is the concluding festival, not just for Sukkot, not just for the high holy days, but really for this whole 7 month period of time in which we are engaged in all of these different festivals and sacrifices and offerings in the time of the temple, all of these agricultural activities. And it makes sense in many ways because this is the period of time in which we are doing all of this great labor on the earth in an agrarian economy. So then the question is, what happens after Shemini Atzeret? What happens after this concluding festival? Is that it? Is it just, everything's over? The reality is that when we look at the calendar, there are no more holidays that happen from now until Passover. Yeah, we've got Hanukkah, we've got Purim, there are some other minor things that were added at later dates, but basically all of the biblically mandated holidays happen within this 7 month period. And so Shemini Atzeret is this hinge point where we enter into the next portion of our calendar, the 5 months of the calendar that mark winter. But there's more that's happening here. It's not just a period of sort of sleep and rest, though that certainly is part of it. So I want to share a little bit from a midrash, and this is from the midrash on the Song of Songs. I'll see if I can actually get this screen to show up. One second. So, okay. So this is from Shir HaShirim Rabbah. We read that there are two closings of the calendar, two inflection points on the calendar. We read that there is a closing on Passover and a closing on the festival of Sukkot. The Holy One, blessed be He, said to Israel, "You close before me on the festival of Sukkot, and I close before you on Passover." It goes on to say, "You close before me on the festival of Sukkot, and I open, blow winds, elevate clouds, cause rain to fall, cause the sun to shine, cause plants to grow, ripen fruit, and set a table for each and every one according to his needs, and provide each and everybody all that it lacks. I close before you on Passover, and you go out, reap, thresh, winnow, and perform all your needs in the field, and you find it filled with blessings." So I think this is a really beautiful passage that is teaching us that there are these moments in the year that are dividing points for basically the two halves of the year. There's the 7 month period of human activity, this 7 month period of time where we are doing all of this work to sustain ourselves. We are planting, we are growing, we are harvesting, we are doing all of the work that goes into sustaining ourselves for the year. It's a period of great activity, and we could think about that even if we're not farmers or gardeners. We can just think about all of the activity that goes into this 7 month period of time, springtime, summer, and early fall, where we're just doing a lot. It's a very busy time, I think, for many of us. And yet, there's the idea that the next 5 months are a period of time not where nothing is happening, but rather this is the period that the divine works on the earth. This is a period of time where Hashem, the cosmic consciousness, the divine presence, whatever God language you want to use, is tending to the earth. It's allowing the earth to rest, but also it's a period of time where God is filling the earth with fruits and opening up the flowers and causing the rain to nourish the earth, to replenish the earth. It's a period of time where we've spent all this time doing all this great work, and now we turn inward and we cede control to the divine. We allow the divine to now tend to the earth and nourish not just the earth, but also ourselves. So during this period of time, we're not doing all of the great labor on the earth. We're not working the fields. We're maybe not spending so much time, being terribly active. But it's a period of time where we can rest because the earth is also resting. It's a period of time where we can seek to be nourished because the earth is being nourished by these divine rains. At the end of Sukkot, we pray for rain because this is the beginning of the rainy season. This is the beginning of the time when the earth is being nourished. We turn inward and we are nourished as well. The word atzer from atzeret, it's spelled with an ayin, but it's related to the word atzer with an aleph. And that version of atzer means to store up. It's almost as if this is the period of time, this moment where we are reminded that we have a storehouse of energy deep within us. We speak about our meditation practice of coming in contact with pure consciousness. And this is a period of time where we can deepen our meditation practice to touch that storehouse, that well of nourishment and sustenance that exists within us, that exists all around us. It's a period of time where we are reminded that there is this plenty that exists just below the surface. It's being fed even if we don't see it. So we may not be working the land, but the divine is doing a lot of renewing and renewal that is unseen behind the scenes. It's a period of time where we can touch that storehouse of energy, of sustenance, of nourishment, and be sustained through these long, dark winter months. So I want to just conclude with my blessing to you from this midrash, that he sets a table for each and every one according to his needs, and he provides each and every body all that it lacks. May we all be sustained this winter. May we deepen our meditation practice and feel that energy and that sustenance that exists as the divine prepares the earth. May we find deep rest and strength in anticipation for this cycle of blessing to renew and begin again in the spring. That is my kavanah and my meditation for all of you. May we find this great nourishment and sustenance as we go forth in these winter months. And may we be sustained and filled with that divine presence. Shalom.